China just fell into a $100 billion trap. While Beijing spent a decade turning coral reefs into the Great Wall of Sand, Japan just built the ultimate skeleton key. Meet the JS Izumo. For years, Japan hid it in plain sight, calling it a helicopter destroyer. But the disguise is gone. For the price of a single Chinese reef, Tokyo has deployed a mobile, stealthy strike force that turns China's stationary islands into billion-dollar targets. JS Izumo's secret evolution. For over a decade, Japan played the most brilliant legal game in naval history. To comply with their pacifist constitution, they built the JS Izumo and JS Kaga and labeled them helicopter destroyers. Despite a 248-meter length and 27,000-ton full-load displacement that screamed aircraft carrier to every analyst in the Pacific. In 2025, the disguise finally came off as Japan accelerated a massive $275 billion 5-year defense buildup, bringing its spending to 2% of GDP a full 2 years ahead of schedule. The technical core of this evolution is a series of special modifications that have fundamentally shifted the regional balance of power. This wasn't just a fresh coat of paint. It was a deep structural refit. Engineers applied a specialized silicon-based thermal coating to the flight deck, capable of withstanding the 3,000-degree Fahrenheit vertical blast from an F-35B's engine. For the JS Kaga, the upgrade was even more extreme, involving a total reconstruction of the bow from a tapered trapezoid to a massive rectangular square deck to minimize turbulence and provide the lift necessary for heavy payload takeoffs. The real front-cost genius is the efficiency of this pivot. While China has sunk an estimated $11.5 billion into expanding a single reef like Fiery Cross into a stationary base, Japan has converted its existing 27,000-ton strike platforms for a fraction of that cost, approximately $30 million for the initial phase on the Izumo, and roughly $140 million, 20.3 billion yen, for the more extensive Kaga refit. Japan is achieving nearly 80% of the capability of a $3.8 billion U.S. America-class LHA by simply weaponizing their existing fleet. This transformation is backed by the purchase of 42 F-35s, with the first squadron of 20 jets becoming operational at Nutabaru Air Base in late 2025 and 2026. Because these ships use NATO standard data links, they offer a level of interoperability that China's Type 075 LHDs can only dream of. A U.S. Marine F-35B can now land on a Japanese deck, refuel, and receive a silent kill targeting solution from a Japanese E-2D Hawkeye, creating a unified mobile, lightning carrier force that turns Beijing's $100 billion Great Wall of Sand into 7 stationary billion-dollar targets. The Great Wall of Sand versus the Lightning. While Japan was playing the long game with its fleet, Beijing was busy sinking an estimated $100 billion into the Great Wall of Sand. This isn't just a series of outposts. It is a network of 7 massive artificial island air bases, specifically the Big Three: Fiery Cross, Subi, and Mischief Reef. To build these, China used a fleet of specialized dredgers to vacuum up over 13 square kilometers of coral reefs, replacing living ecosystems with over 3,200 acres of military-grade concrete. The data on these islands is terrifying. Each of the Big Three features a 3,000-meter runway, long enough to support China's heaviest bombers and its 5th-generation J-20 stealth fighters. They are shielded by a dense A-2AD umbrella, including HQ-9B surface-to-air missile batteries with a 160-mile range and YJ-12B supersonic anti-ship missiles capable of striking a carrier from 310 miles away. A single HQ-9B battery alone cost roughly $300 million, and China has turned these reefs into the most densely defended patches of sand on the planet. But here's where the $100 billion investment hits a front cost wall. Concrete can't move. Every coordinate of those runways is permanently burned into the targeting computers of Japan's F-35B fleet. For all their armor, these islands are billion-dollar sitting ducks. This is where Japan's 42 F-35s, each costing roughly $109 million, change the math. Unlike China's J-15S that require massive stationary infrastructure, the F-35B can launch from the JS Izumo and recover on a 500-foot stretch of makeshift road or even a clearing. In a clash, Japan doesn't need to sink the island. They just need to crater the runway. One AGM 158 CLRASM costs roughly $3.2 million and can strike from over 200 miles away, well outside the island's defensive perimeter. If Japan launches a swarm of these, the front cost to repair a specialized 10,000-foot runway is hundreds of millions, while the cost to neutralize the island's offensive power is just the price of a few missiles. China spent billions to build a wall. Japan just built the world's most efficient sledgehammer. Neutralizing the fortress. While China's island bases look invincible on a map, they suffer from a fatal front cost flaw. They are built for a war that no longer exists. Beijing has spent an estimated $3 billion per island to install the SLC-7L band and JY-26 Skywave radars, creating a glass house over the South China Sea. These systems are designed to spot incoming bombers from 500 miles away, but the F-35B is a high-speed scalpel designed to deliver a silent kill. The strategy to neutralize these $5 billion reefs doesn't involve a bloody invasion. It starts with electronic warfare. The F-35B's ASQ-239 Barracuda system, a suite that accounts for nearly 25% of the jet's $109 million price tag, can pinpoint the exact frequency of an island's radar and flood it with digital noise before the Chinese garrison even knows they're being targeted. Once the island is blind, Japan's pilots deploy the Joint Strike Missile. This is a $3.5 million, 900-pound stealthy cruise missile with a range of over 340 miles that can be carried internally, allowing the jet to maintain a radar cross-section smaller than a golf ball. The math of the strike is cold and efficient. A single HQ-9B missile used to defend the island costs roughly $1.8 million per shot. To guarantee an intercept on a stealthy sea-skimming JSM, China must fire at least 2 missiles, a $3.6 million gamble. Japan, however, can launch a salvo of JSMs and AGM-158 CLRASMs, each costing around $3.2 million from well outside the island's engagement zone. Because these missiles are autonomous and use multimodal seekers to identify targets without a radar lock, they approach just feet above the waves, making them nearly impossible for the island's Type 730C IWS to track. Japan doesn't need to sink the island. By targeting the $300 million SLC-7 radar arrays and the fuel depots, they turn a $5 billion fortress into a dark, isolated rock in a matter of minutes. Japan has the data, they have the stealth, and they have the mobility to strike and vanish before China can even pick up a phone. The 2026 Pacific reality. While Japan's JS Izumo is the asymmetric answer to the South China Sea, Beijing is doubling down on big Navy prestige. The 2026 Pacific reality is a clash of two diametrically opposed philosophies: China's massive system of targets versus the US and Japan's system of systems. To counter the Lightning carrier threat, China is accelerating the Type 004, a 120,000-ton nuclear-powered supercarrier that, by 2026 standards, aims to dwarf even the USS Gerald R. Ford, 100,000 tons. While the Ford carries roughly 75 aircraft, the Type 004 is designed to host over 90 fixed-wing platforms, including the J-35 stealth fighter and KJ-600 AWACS. The Fujian, China's current 80,000-ton flagship, already uses electromagnetic catapults to match U.S. launch speeds, but it lacks the Ford's unlimited nuclear endurance. The Ford can stay at sea for 20 years without refueling, while China's conventional fleet must return to the Great Wall of Sand every 90 days. But the real front cost battle is in the escort fleet. China's Type 055 Renhai-class cruiser is arguably the most heavily armed surface ship in existence. At 13,000 tons, it carries 112 vertical launch system cells, more than the 96 cells on a U.S. Arleigh Burke Flight 3 or Japan's Maya class. Most importantly, the Type 055 has integrated the YJ-21 and YJ-20 hypersonic anti-ship missiles, which can strike targets from over 300 miles away at speeds exceeding Mach 6. However, the US and Japan have a secret weapon: targeting math. A single Type 055 costs roughly $1 billion, but it still relies on centralized radar arrays that are vulnerable to electronic saturation. In contrast, a US Navy Arleigh Burke Flight 3, costing $2.5 billion, is built around the SPY-6 radar, which has 30 times the sensitivity of older systems. Through the Cooperative Engagement Capability Network, the US and Japan can link their fleets. A Japanese Maya class can fire a $4.3 million SM-6 missile at a Chinese J-35 that its own radar can't see, using data beamed directly from a US F-35B flying 100 miles away. China is spending trillions to build a wall of steel and concrete. But Japan and the US aren't trying to outbuild the wall, they're building a ghost network that can dismantle it from the inside out. China built a wall of sand, but Japan just showed up with a 27,000-ton sledgehammer. Turns out, unsinkable is just a fancy word for a billion-dollar sitting duck that can't run away. If you're into weaponized math and ships that like to play hide and seek, hit subscribe. We've got more coming.